All right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for taking the time out today. Thank you for joining us today. I can ensure that this is going to be a power packed, close to about an hour, power packed 1 hour. And we're going to cover a bunch of things today. We're going to talk about Netflix. Going to talk about data analytics and Power BI, right? Um, so broadly, I think I typically structure my webinar in three sections. First one is my introduction. Second one is diving deep into data analytics. What is data analytics about? And third, actually using the Netflix dataset to through Power BI to get some insights and learn from our data, right? All right. Very quickly, just confirm if everything is fine, if you're able to hear me and see me. If there's any problem, you can let me know. I will be monitoring the chat at all points. That being said, if there's any question, I would recommend you to keep it for the end. We would take up questions towards the end. You can always write them in the chat, but we will take them up towards the end itself. Just before I do that, I want to quickly introduce myself. So I've been with data analytics the last. Prior to this, I was working at Udaan. Udaan is a B2B e-commerce firm, the largest in India. I was working as a product analyst in the data science product team, right? We were working on a bunch of initiatives across India. So I've been working with data since then. Even before that, I've interned at Oyo Rooms, Hyperverge. Hyperverge is a B2B fintech. And I've been dealing with data science problems since I don't know, maybe last 4 or 5 years, right? So now what I want you to take away from my introduction is that initially I faced a lot of challenge. I come from a mechanical engineering background, graduated from IIT Ropar, then from a mechanical background, and I did not have the right guidance and the right path to succeed in a data science or a data analytics career, right? We didn't have a lot of courses there, not even one broadly, but we had to request a few professors. We had to do a lot of online courses. I had to do projects on my own, had to look for internships. And then finally, all of that led to getting a job in data analytics, right? So it was non-linear, very, very non-linear. What I would have required or what I would have preferred, rather, would have been maybe a structured pathway, the right guidance, the right mentorship, right? So, what I typically recommend my mentees as well is just ensure that you're not making these mistakes, you are not wasting your time beating around the bush. Ensure that you have a very structured path to data analytics, right? And then work towards it instead of looking for resources all over the place. Maybe follow one resource which is very, very structured and which helps you get to your destination more quickly, right? So that is my 2 cents here on this front. And with this, I will now move to the second section of this session, and that is data analytics. Now, data analytics, as you all know, is super, super important across companies. Everybody is realizing the importance of data science, data analytics. Um, every company, and why is that? Because every company is collecting a lot of data, right? You cannot even imagine the kind of data that every company is collecting. And this essentially includes, let's say, images, text, record sounds, basically videos, lot of stuff. And in order to make sense of that data, they require data analytics, data analysts, product analysts, data science, business analyst, all these roles, which is where you come in and solve this problem for them. Hence, making this role very, very desired, very highly desired, right? So that is the role of a data analyst. Um, to also touch upon the data analytics journey aspect, I want to move towards Excel. I want to move to Excel and quickly show you the steps to a data analytics pathway, right? And I will show that to you through this life cycle. So data analytics lifecycle, if you see, right, we start with, it's not a one step task. So the data analytics lifecycle, and I hope everyone can see this screen. The data analytics lifecycle involves first understanding and defining the problem statement. That is step one. And then you actually collect the data, mine the data, let's say from online sources, social media. Um, Maybe you would already be collecting the data in your organization through through a bunch of sources. That is the second aspect. And then we clean the data. This is where a lot of bandwidth of data analysts and data scientists goes, right? Very, very important step, sometimes underestimated. And fourth step is manipulation. And this is where you manipulate the data, make it more consumable, make it more digestible or usable, right? And then using that data, you would probably build models. If you are talking about machine learning, using the clean data, using the manipulated data or the more structured data, you would now build models on top of it, right? So that is data modeling. And then we talk about data analysis. This is where pivot tables come into picture. You analyze the data, use bunch of tools like Excel for that. And then you talk about visualization. And when you visualize the data, you create all those beautiful charts, graphs, all that stuff, right? And you try to tell a story using that data, right? For example, this is the data set that we are going to use today, right? The Netflix data set. Now, does this 5,000, do these 5,000 rows tell you anything at this moment? Nothing, right? So if you go through this randomly, you will not get any insight, any trend, any pattern, nothing. Frankly, this data is useless for me. If I do not do all these steps, it is not useful for me. I need to maybe analyze, visualize, and story tell using tools like Excel, Power BI. And that is when it will really, really drive a lot of value for my organization. Right. So, which is why it is very, very important for you to understand this data analytics lifecycle. Right. So, that is one thing I wanted to cover before we started the session today. And why we are solving the problem and why we are doing all of this should be very, very important, should be very, very clear to you before we actually solve the problem, right? Why are we doing what we are doing? Why am I defining the problem statement? Why am I collecting? Why am I cleaning? Why am I manipulating the data? Right? All those whys you need to thoroughly imbibe. Otherwise, you'll not get interest in it, right? Otherwise, you'll not be interested and you'll not be able to realize what you're doing, why you're doing that, right? All right. At this point, I think we are good to start the actual content for today's session. And I can see a few hands raised. So I would request all of you to lower your hand. I think we'll take up questions towards the end. Right? And also, if there's a question that you feel might get lost, just put it down in the chat. We will take up as much as possible. We will take up questions towards the end. All right. I think, yeah, so some people were getting voice break. I believe it is fine for all the rest of the folks. Just confirm once, maybe am I audible properly? All right, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. No more yeses required. Already flooded. Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Thanks a lot. All right. Let's start with Netflix. Now, we've talked about my background. We've talked about data analytics. We've talked about the why behind each of these steps. Now, let's jump to the very, very interesting aspect of today's session, and that is Netflix. Now, the Netflix dataset that I have today with me is very, very unique. It is very interesting. And a lot of movies that we are going to talk about, we are going to see today, and a lot of shows you would easily be able to recognize because this is data from the last 50 odd years, right? Perfect. So let's see. What do we have? Now, I have this data with me, about 5,000 rows. Index is the first column. Then I have ID of that movie or show. I have the title, as you can see, Taxi Driver, Bonnie and Clyde, White Christmas, The Queen, right? All these. So these are the titles that I have. And then I have type. Now there is a filter option in Excel, right? I hope everyone can see this. There is a filter option in Excel. I am using that option to just show you what are the types of type. Basically, what is the what are the two types of um titles or contents that I have, right? Movie and show. So I have movies as well as shows in my data set. Let's come to the next. So what are we doing? We are exploring the data. We are just trying to understand what is there in my data set. Next one is description, right? Description, what is the description of the movie or the show? And if you see, this is not very long, but it is like a short description of the movie or the show. And very important is the release year, right? When was this movie or show released? Right? So that is the release year. And then we have something known as age certification. This is basically whether the movie is R rated, PG rated, whether it's an adult movie versus if we talk about shows, let's say TV 14, bunch of things, and TVMA. So there are these age certifications. And then we have runtime, and this is in minutes. What is the duration of the movie or the show? Right. And again, we have a variety here. We have, if you see here, and I hope this is visible. Yeah, if you see here, we have 0 to 235. So this must be a movie, very, very long movie, 235 minutes, right? Close to about 4 hours, right? So that is the runtime. And then we have something known as IMDb ID. So what is IMDb? IMDb is a platform that rates movies and shows, right? It's like a website that has ratings for movies and shows. So that is where we are getting this IMDb ID. So for this movie, what is the ID on IMDb? IMDb is, you can look it up. IMDb is like a website that rates movies and shows where you can go and rate that. And then we have the most important column in this data set is the IMDb score. What is the rating that the movie or the show got? 8 above, for example, is very good. 8, 8.2, 8.3, and so on and so forth. Another important column, which is the last one here, is IMDb votes. So how many votes did this movie or this show get? Right? How many votes did this movie or show get? Uh, that is basically in this case 795,000, right? So 7 lakhs or close to 8 lakhs. All right, so far so good. So what we've done is, first of all, we didn't have a problem statement here. We didn't have anything that we wanted to solve for. I was just demonstrating how does the data look like. But typically in organizations, you would have a problem statement. For example, in this case, maybe which is the movie that performed the best across the last 50 years, right? So that's an example of a problem statement. I got the data already, so I didn't have to collect or mine the data. That was done. I already have clean data. But now I will come to manipulation, modeling, analysis, visualization, and storytelling. These are the things that we are going to cover today, right? Maybe even cleaning. So all these things, if you see, can be done using Power BI. Cleaning, manipulation, modeling, analysis, visualization, and storytelling. And that is what we are going to do now. Let me jump to Power BI. Meanwhile, I can still see a lot of people raising hands. So maybe just lower your hand. I think we will take up questions towards the end. All right. So far, so good. Any questions here? You can always put it down in the chat. Perfect. All right. Let me move to Power BI now. We'll stop sharing my screen. So far, we've simply understood the data set. And you can get this data set for people asking this question. I think you can get this data set easily. I'll try to share towards the end, just remind me. But you'll easily get this data set online, right? Just search for Netflix, movie shows, and movies and shows. So maybe just do that. All right, let's see. So what am I doing now? I'm getting this data on Power BI. So in Power BI, there's an option to import data, right? And I will just show that to you. So this is Power BI. Hope everyone is able to see this. All right. I hope everyone is able to see this. Let's check once. Perfect. All right. Great. So I think now we should have some idea of the data that we already have, right? So there is this Netflix TV shows and movies sheet that I want to import in Power BI, right? And if you see, this is the exact same sheet that we just saw. Now, what I will do is I will go to something known as transform data. So you can always directly load the data, but in this case, we will just make some basic transformations. And that is, if you remember, that comes in the data manipulation aspect, right? We will just transform the data. And for that, Power BI uses something known as Power Query Editor, right? Power BI uses something known as Power Query Editor, which I'm going to show you just now. What this does is this helps you with cleaning, this helps you with manipulation, this helps you with transforming the data, making it more consumable, making it more rich, or let's say making it more digestible, right? So let me now move to Power Query Editor, and that is this. So this is called Power Query Editor. This is where I can make changes to my data, understand the data. For example, if you see these columns 17, 16, all these columns have been added uh, by Power BI. I don't want these columns. These are anyways null. If you remember, the last column that we had was IMDb votes. Right? So what I will do is I will simply remove columns. Right? I right clicked on that and clicked on remove columns. So this is Power Query, correct? This is Power Query Editor for whoever is asking. And full form of BI is business intelligence. All right. Now this essentially is my data set. What I want to do here is I want to create a new column. I want to get the right mixture of IMDb votes as well as IMDb score. And why is that? Let me tell you the rationale behind it. Now, if you see, some movies would have gotten a very good score, right? Like, for example, 9 or 9.5. But only 50 people voted for that movie. Right? Only 50 people voted for that movie, but the movie got a 9.5 or a 10. Does that make that movie a very good movie? Probably not. Because those 50 people or those 10 people or that one person who voted for the movie might be biased or might not have accurately given the rating, right? Which is why what we need to do is we want to get a column which takes into account both score as well as votes, right? So that is what we want to do. We want to create a column which takes both score and votes into account. For example, a movie with a rating of 8 but with IMDb votes of 1 million is a very good movie because we have a lot of people voting for that movie and we have a lot of people voting well, or let's say voting highly for that movie, right? Rating that movie high. So that ways we want a new column, and for that I will go to this add column tab here and I will go to custom column, right? So there is something known as custom column, and what we need to do here is we need to define, let's say, a new score. So I'm calling this score. And what is the score? This is simply the IMDb score multiplied by IMDb votes. Right, so I'll not call this score because IMDb score is already there. Maybe I'll call this score into votes simply. Right, so IMDb score multiplied by IMDb votes. These are the columns that I have, score and votes. I want to multiply them. Why? Because I want a column which takes into account both score and votes. There can be other combinations and we can always discuss that. But this is a combination that is very, very suitable. Right, so that is this score into votes. And that is all I wanted to do here. I wanted to create a new column. I could have done this in Excel also, obviously, but our session is on Power BI today, and I want to do everything using Power BI. So this is a new column we've defined. Now I will click on close and apply. Now what will happen is this Power Query Editor will actually close, and you will now move to Power BI, proper Power BI, right? You will move to Power BI, and let's go back there. And now this data is loading basically. In Yeah, now it has loaded. Let's see. So we have all these columns and we have a new column called score into votes. Right? This is the data that we have in Power BI. This is coming directly from the Excel file that I showed you. And this new column score into votes has come from the new transformation that we did, right? We added a column in Power Query Editor. All right. Now, what do we want to do here? We want to create a dashboard here. We want to answer a few questions. For example, one of the question can be, which is the best movie in the last 50 years? Which is the movie that got the highest rating or the highest scores, or let's say the highest votes in the last 50 years? Which age certification is producing the best movies? Or which release year, release, or essentially which year were the best movies released in? Right. So all this information I want to answer through my data set. And we will draw charts, graphs using this data to answer these questions. Right. Let's see. Now, what I want to do is I typically start with filters, and that is also known as a slicer in um, Power BI. So I would want a slicer for the type. What is the type? Whether it's a movie or a show, right? I want a slicer for that. And I will simply drag and drop. I've dragged type into this field here. And this, if you see, is a filter, right? This is a filter for the type. Now let's come to, I want to see the card. So this is a card visual. I want to see the name of the movie or the show, right? So this is a card that I've created. It simply tells me at this point, it is simply telling me the name of the first movie in my list, right? Alphabetically, the whichever movie comes on top or whichever show comes on top, it is simply showing that to me. Next, I want to see, now again, these are the questions that we are answering. Whenever you create a chart, always first think of the question that you want to answer through that chart. So for example, the question that I want to answer here is, which release year produced the highest rating, right, on average? So let's see. I want to create a bar chart, and on the y-axis, I want to have release year. On the x-axis, I want to have the IMDb score and average IMDb score. Right, so this is the chart that we have here. If you can see here, this year in particular, 1985, here the IMDb score was very high. Average IMDb score was 8. Right, average IMDb score was 8, and I hope everyone is able to follow me. Let's see. If there are any questions, you can always, do we have Power BI in the Excel directly, or do we need to download it? We need to download it. So this is Power BI desktop, right? It is free on Windows. Anyone can download it. Perfect. Now, this is the question that I have answered here. Which year gave me the best movies, or gave me the movies with the best score, right? Movies or shows, both of them. I also want to see, because typically data sets have bias. I want to see how many movies does my data set have across each release year, right? So I want to see that as well. For that, I will create a line chart. On the x-axis, I will keep the release year. And on the y-axis, I want to see the number of movies. How will I get the number of movies? I can take the ID. If you remember, I can take the count of ID. So our ID is basically a unique identifier for each movie or each show, right? So I will keep the count of ID. I want to keep the distinct count of ID. And this is that. Now, what does this chart tell you? Just write in the chat, what does this chart tell you about my data set? So these are the release years on the x-axis and number of movies in each release year on the y-axis. Let me know if this, what do you think about this chart? What does this tell you? So what is the learning, let's say, or what is the insight you derive from this chart? Okay, right. So the learning that you have from this chart is that I have a lot of movies after, let's say, 2010 or let's say after 2015, I have a lot of movies. But before that, I have very few movies, and especially before 2000, I have very, very few movies. So in my data set, there is a bias of sorts, right? In terms of the number of movies that are there in each release year, that is very, very variable. That is highly variable. What this means is that I have a lot of movies after 2015 in my data set, but I don't have a lot of movies from, let's say, 1953 to 2000. Right? So there is a bias in the data set, and whenever you present information to your stakeholders, always uh, point out or always call out this factor that okay, my data set had a lot of movies after 2015, but there's a bias essentially, or let's say there's a lot of movies after 2015 and there were very few movies before 2000. It's always call this out. This will just help the team take better decisions moving forward, right? More informed decisions uh, would be a better word for this. So I just want to keep this chart here only. And we've now started creating a report basically, right? So these are two things. What else? Now, obviously, we want to answer the burning question, and that is which movie performed the best. Now, when we talk about performing the best, we can talk about score, we can talk about votes, and we can talk about both score and votes. Right? And that is what I want to use here. I want to say across movies. So, of course, x-axis will have the title. Across movies, which movie performed the best? Right? So, I want to see not the count. Okay, let's see. Score into votes. This is reading it as text. I want to go here and convert the score into votes. So basically, if you see the score into votes here, it is reading this as text, right? It is the format of this column is a text. I want to read this as a decimal number. And I've simply now converted this score into votes into a decimal format. Now what will happen is I can get the total score into votes number for each movie or show. As you can see here, Inception, and I hope this is visible to everyone. I think so, yes. Inception got the highest uh, product of score and votes, right? Which means that Inception got a lot of votes also and very good scores also, which makes Inception the best movie in my data set, right? So this is definitely something I wanted answered, and I will just place this chart here, right? And if I apply a filter here, everything in my data set will accordingly change. If you see here now, I have movies only, right? I don't have shows here, or I can select show and everything will change accordingly. So Breaking Bad is the best show. Second best show is Stranger Things. Third is Walking Dead. We talk about movies. Best movie is Inception. Second best is Forrest Gump. Third is Django Unchained. Right? And remember that we've not plotted score only or votes only. We've plotted a product of score and votes. Right? So both factors are taken into account. All right. So far, so good. Now, what I want to do is I also want to see age certifications. How many movies are there in each age certification? Right. So I will create a heat map. This is called a tree map, basically. So category age certification and number of movies, which I will get through count of ID here, which means that a lot of movies, about 2000 movies, are blank. 2000 movies do not have the age certification. And 548 movies have R rating, PG, so on and so forth. So what this tells me is, what is the distribution of age certification in my data set, right? And there is something known as filters here in Power BI. You can apply, let's say, a filter here. I don't want to see the blank age certification. What I will do is I will simply remove the blank. Right? I only want to see the split of the cases where age certification exists. Right? It is not blank. Another way to do this would be simply use a donut chart or a pie chart. Right? This is a more elegant way to do this. Let's see. So this is telling you the percentage also, which movie got which movie, or let's say which age certification had what number of movies. All right, so far so good. So what I will do is I will just place this chart right next to this, and we will move on. I think the last chart that I want to create is, we've talked about age certification, we've talked about IMDb score, votes, we've talked about release year, we've talked about score into votes, but we've not talked about runtime. Now, the question again, I always think of the question first, and then the chart answers my question. So, what is the question? The question is that which runtime, or let's say, how does the runtime affect the movie, the score of the movie, right? The rating of the movie. So I want to see runtime versus IMDb score. For that, what I will do is I will simply create a line chart here, and I will plot runtime on the y axis and, let's say, rating, sorry, runtime on the x axis and rating on the y axis. And that is IMDb score. What is this telling you? Again, this is my question to you. What does this chart tell you? So I want to see average IMDb score. Yeah, let's see. On the x-axis, I have the runtime in minutes. On the y-axis, I have the average IMDb score. What does this tell you? And I hope to get answers here in the chat. Let's see. What does this chart tell you? Okay, someone is saying for lengthy movies, IMDb score is more. Fair point. But that we cannot generalize. If you see here, there's a dip here, right? And then broadly, we can say this for at least this data. But here we should always keep in mind that how many movies do I have in each bucket? For example, I may only have one or two movies in this bucket, right? I may only have one or two movies in, let's say, above 200 minutes runtime. So we always need to keep the selection bias or the bias in mind. Always keep that in mind. Correct. Lot of interesting learnings I can read here. Data has outliers. Average IMDb score is this. People want to see movies less than 150 minutes. All of these are very valid points. This is helping me build a story, right? So this I will keep here. This is again very, very useful for me. I just want to arrange this properly. Let's see. All right. Now, one last thing I want to add here is the description of the movie, because sometimes you would want to read, let's say, the description as well. So I will just create a card here, right? This is the description. And there is an option to change the size of this also. So I will go here, call out value. I will change the size of this to 20 maybe, or even less, 10. All right. So this is the description of the movie. If you see here, I have a data set, I have a dashboard from a data set. I have a report basically. And this is much, much more meaningful than the data set that I have, which was very raw and we could not learn anything out of it. Right? This is a data set. Now, the only thing that is left for me is making this more beautiful. At this point, it is looking slightly haphazard, haywire, right? Although you know what is the meaning of each chart and you can learn something out of it, you can derive insights from it, you can create a story out of the dashboard, but still it needs to be more presentable. So what I will do now is I will go to visualizations and I will start adding some components and colors, let's say, right, to each chart. For example, one thing that I always like to do is visual border and shadow, like these two things. And we can always change the color of the chart, right? Maybe change the transparency also. And again, visual border, shadow. So what am I doing? I'm simply making this look neater, or let's say more visually appealing. So if we go to format visual, general, and then effects, we have a lot of options, and I'm going to use some of these now. Let's see. So I'm just trying to increase the visual appeal of this dashboard. And you will notice that there's a lot of difference that we will see through this. Let's see. All right. So visual border shadow again, very, very useful. These are like hacks for making your data set more, or let's say making your report more appealing. All right. Let's see. And we are done. Broadly, I think this is the last one. We can always change the transparency from here. And yes, I think this is what I wanted to show you. Broadly, what this does is this makes the person who's looking at your data set will not lose interest. That is one. And second, the story can flow very smoothly if you have a data set that is more visually appealing, right? You would not face problems around people not wanting to see your dashboard, all of that. And yeah, now this, if you see, if you recognize, there's a lot of difference from what we created initially. We This is much, much more appealing, right? Perfect. All right. Now this is simply one page. I can use multiple pages here, and using all those pages, I can create a story. So if you remember, the last step in our data science, data analytics life cycle was storytelling. What I need to do is, and that is the last aspect of the discussion also, I want to create a story out of it, and every chart is helping me add to that story. It's like a data point to that story, right? So I have a lot of learnings from these charts, and all those learnings I can condense into one single story that the stakeholders will hear. They will listen to my story from the data set, and then they will take a decision, right? So derive a story from this chart, and then derive actionable insights from that story. Those actionable insights will then inform the decision making of the company, and they will take decisions. For example, a very typical example that I always take is, let's say Google wants to launch an OTT platform. You have a lot of data from, let's say, other companies, or let's say Google's own other product launches. You can describe, or you can show all of that in a dashboard, and you can create a story out of it, and then that story can help inform the decisions of the leadership team or the management team, right? So that's the last aspect of this, and that is data storytelling. If we see all these aspects come together, cleaning, manipulation, analysis, modeling, and visualization and storytelling, that is the entire data analytics lifecycle, right? And that is what I wanted to talk about today. Uh, in particular, we've talked about the Netflix data set. We've talked about how we can learn from it, how we can create a dashboard out of it, and how can we create charts using questions. So I always had questions, and then the answer was given to us through the chart or through the visual that we created. Right. So that was all. I think just before I end, I think there's one message I want to convey to you. We've talked about this. We've discussed the data analytics lifecycle. We've seen an entire end-to-end, almost end-to-end data analytics lifecycle. Now, before we come to the questions, right, and we'll take questions in just a bit. I want to, I think, give some, let's say, advice here. If you're planning, let's say, a career transition, and this is a question we very frequently get, right? If you're planning a career transition, you need to have a solid roadmap. I struggled a lot because there was no roadmap initially, right? I had to jump to various courses, various online, offline, internships, projects, everything, right? Although all that is required, but there needs to be a structure to it, right? You need to have a solid roadmap, especially if you're planning a career transition, because then you don't have the background. It becomes important for you to upskill, right? So you need to save time. It'll save a lot of time if you have the right mindset and the right structure to your planning, to your roadmap, right? So I highly recommend you to always look for such programs where it is complete, first of all, end to end, covers everything, and it is very, very structured. It is like the complete thing that you need, right? It will help you build your profile from scratch. Many a times such programs are paid, right? For example, Coding Ninjas also has a paid program. Always look at this aspect, that whether it is complete, whether it is structured, are they helping me with expert guidance, right? Are they helping me with mock interviews? Are they helping me with actual skills that are being utilized or that are being tested upon in today's interviews, right? Whenever you sit for placements, whenever you sit for, let's say, job interviews, are the skills tested there in the program? Always look for these things, because this is a question I get very frequently. So always look for this, and this will help you choose the right program. Right? So such paid courses, and there are many paid courses, but I think these are some factors you need to look at. And if that paid course offers you placement assistance as well, I think then there's nothing like it. Then part of your job, which is a huge part of the job search, right? Which is a huge part of your transition. That is the job search. That will become easier if you have placement assistance also in your program. We have time constraint, of course, we cannot cover all the aspects that will help you in your career transition. But I can guarantee that if you invest in, let's say, a paid program, it makes a lot of things easy for you, right? This entire process becomes very, very straightforward. Now you just need to focus on doing whatever is mentioned in the roadmap, right? You don't need to innovate, don't need to think about it, just need to follow it. And yeah, and your success will depend on how well, let's say, you follow it or how closely you follow it, right? So I think that is one thing I wanted to talk about from a career transition point of view. uh, Aditi from the Coding Ninjas team will now share a form with you, which essentially, of course, tells you how these paid programs can help you. One, right? You can, uh, if you fill the form, maybe someone may reach out to you, and then you will be explained how such a paid program can help you for a faster career transition. Now, career transition, anyways, sooner or later you are likely to make, but then does it take 5 years? Does it take 6 months? Does it take 3 months? All of that matters. So time also is very, very important. So I think if you fill the form, and we've shared that in the chat already, I will pin this for you. If we if you fill the form, maybe the first 10 users will get a chance to connect with me or any other industry expert. Obviously, we don't have a lot of time. I typically may not be able to take personal questions, right? So first 10 users will get a chance to connect with me or any other industry expert. Right. So I will stop speaking now and I will let you fill the form. This form basically, I think, solves for a bunch of your problems, career transition, and how to actually get into this field. What are the skills you need to learn? All of this you would get through this understanding. Right. So let's see. I will stop speaking now, and I will invite Aditi now, and maybe we can take up questions.
Sure. So I have already shortlisted few questions for you, Ashwin. One question number one is from Krishna Mohan, which is I'm currently working in corporate company into accounting. Can you please suggest how to move to technical side?
Right, sure. So, accounting, first of all, if you can leverage something from accounting, right? Some data understanding, some skills you would have gained while accounting, right? Excel, maybe. Why don't you leverage that, right? That is one. But if you're not able to do, even if you're not able to do that, anyways, there's a three-step process that I always recommend. First, learn the skills, because you don't come from that background. You need to learn the data analytics skills. Second, apply those skills, get hands-on experience, because you don't have that right now. Don't come from that industry. Or let's say you don't come from a data analytics background. Learn those skills, apply those skills, and then actually identify the right opportunities for you. So learning the skills can be done through a course. Applying the skills is basically the hands-on exposure that you get, can be done through projects, right? And if the bootcamp already has a project, then that's the best thing. And third, apply at the right places, or let's say identify that, okay, I come in this experience bucket, or I come in this, let's say, skill range. I will, this is the right role for me. I will apply to this role. Right. So it's a three-step process. Don't miss any step. Obviously, you need to apply, you need to learn, but always remember that you need to get hands-on exposure projects as well, because that will demonstrate whether you are able to use what you have learned. Right. Everyone can do courses and learn, but are you able to really demonstrate that on your resume, some hands-on exposure around that, that will help you succeed. So that those are my 2 cents around this.
Right. So taking next question from Aishwarya. I am working in finance background as a compliance analyst, and also I am from commerce background. This platform is for me or not, which means analytics is for her or not.
Right. So definitely, I think I've seen a lot of very, very good data analysts and data scientists from commerce. Even if you're a compliance analyst or any role in general, there is definitely you don't have any disadvantage. That is the first thing. And secondly, the kind of mathematics and the kind of technical stuff that is there is very, very basic. Everyone has done that till 10th. Right. So, for example, our program, that is the Coding Ninjas Bootcamp program, or any other good program, will have all the skills or everything that is required for you to get into data analytics. Right. So, from scratch, basically, they start from scratch. So, don't need to know anything prior to this through this learning journey, and you can definitely get into data analytics, right? So there's nothing like, is this field for me or not? Everyone can get into data analytics, provided that they have, let's say, very, very basic maths background, which I believe everyone has. And second, if they have, if they follow the 3-step process, learn, get hands-on exposure and apply. So I think definitely possible, and best of luck.
Sure. From here, I'll take the question from Dvitya Mondal. So I'm working as a customer and account support for last 3 years and have a degree in nutrition. So I'm completely out of this field or sector. Can I opt for the program and actually be able to transition the career?
Yes, and we have had a lot of examples for sure. People coming from very random backgrounds, even, maybe, so customer success is a typical example. A lot of people come from customer success, and then they've transitioned, right? So I think totally possible. Everything that is required for you to become a good data analyst, succeed in a good in your interviews and become a good data analyst is there in this course. So I think you don't even need to think twice about it. I myself, by the way, am an instructor in the course, and I know that even if the person is coming from any random background, right? Design, commerce is still relevant, but then design, customer success, maybe, or let's say fashion, anything, right? They can transition for sure through the course.
Okay, so one question I'm also taking from the YouTube audience, which is event company में कैसे काम होता है इसका? So he wants to understand how analytics is used in the event company and event management.
Right. So today only I was reading about a global event management player called Cvent. They use a lot of data analytics to predict the demand. For example, if I already know that my event will get 1,000 people, don't you think all the investments that I make in, let's say, food, or let's say in marketing, all that will become much more easier, right? Much easier for me, right? I think if you have a lot of data, event management becomes like totally different. It becomes very competitive. It becomes much better. So if you get data, if you know data analytics, and if you're able to use data analytics tools for, let's say, predicting demand, or giving a better experience to your users, I think there's nothing like it. So I can probably tell you 1,000 different use cases. um, Event management companies or event companies, definitely a lot of use cases for data analytics.
Okay, we have to take more questions because we still have 50 plus questions in the chat box for us. So I think
Sure.
we will take it from Prasanna Kumar. Hi Ashwin, I am from we C++ developer with 10 plus years of experience. So I'm planning to upgrade the skill. So please suggest the current trending courses or technology or domain.
So first of all, courses, obviously you can go to YouTube, bunch of places, but the Coding Ninjas course is the one where I have most exposure, where I have most understanding. These are the skills that are actually required. These are the skills that you would probably, really that would really benefit you. So maybe just explore at least the syllabus, what all is being covered here, right? So that is one. And second, definitely possible. Your coding background may help, especially with Python and other things. And if you talk about the last part of your question was trending topics, If you talk about that, I think broadly three things I always recommend. Excel is more like a life skill than like a tool, right? Excel is very, very important. That is one. And second is SQL, because you can manage a lot of large data sets using SQL. And third is you need one visualization tool that helps you create your dashboards and all your, let's say, reports that will really help you describe your data, right? So Power BI, I think, would be very relevant. A lot of companies are using Power BI. So if you talk about trending or most important tools at this point, I would say that Excel for basic data analysis, SQL for manipulating the data, getting the data, making it structured, and third, Power BI for data visualization.
Sure. Also, would like to understand what could be the correct way to take a transition to analytics if somebody is coming from a non-technical background, because mostly the questions are coming for career transition, and people want to take a switch to data analytics. So, how difficult it would be for coming to, and I believe it is used in all the industries, right? And how they would take the transition is on them by learning. But then some tips and tricks that you can help with.
For sure. So I think a bunch of things. One is um, how you are able to learn the new skills, right? Learning new skills is very, very important here. You don't bring that background, Excel, Power BI, SQL, Python, all these things you would have to learn, right? And of course, depends on the requirement of the company. Some companies only require Excel, some companies only require Power BI. So that is the first step. Second is you need to do projects. You need to get some hands-on exposure, live projects, guided projects, or freelancing even, right? Bunch of things, case studies, competitions, all these. Third is identify the right places. Don't apply blindly, because applying also takes time. So identify the right places and the right roles for you, like business intelligence analyst, data analyst, business analyst, data scientist, machine learning engineer, statistician, bunch of roles, right? So always identify the right role, or let's say the right skills that are required for you, and go ahead and apply. Go ahead and apply in that role, for that role. So I think learn the skills, non-negotiable. Apply the skills, hands-on exposure, non-negotiable, and then obviously selecting and applying for the right roles, again non-negotiable. These are the three non-negotiable skills that you need if you're coming from any background, right? Even if you don't come from a maths or technical or any kind of background you're coming from, these are the three things. These would be the same. I come from an engineering background and I followed all three, right? In an unstructured manner, that's a separate thing, but I followed all of them. And then I was able to break into data analytics, data science. So I think those would be the three things that I would say. Any background, some basic maths, anyways, very good courses. For example, the Coding Ninjas course teaches you the basic statistics as well, exploratory data analysis, everything that is required from scratch to the very, very advanced level. Yeah.
Okay, we'll take the question from Vinu. I am working as a corporate and house contract support for the past 4 years. I'm very skeptical right now to transition to a totally new field at this point in my career, as law and data analytics are not related. But I'm fascinated by the data analysis role and want to fulfill my career in data analytics.
Right, fair point. See, you won't regret. First of all, data analytics is the hottest field right now, data analytics and data science broadly. And secondly, it doesn't matter. The background you're coming from doesn't really matter. Some of the best people that I know, not in India, in fact, one of them is from Germany. Uh, he does not come from a data analytics background and is the brain of the company, is the genius of the company essentially. And he's a data analyst, right? So people don't ever think that, okay, I don't, this is a new field for me, I don't come from that background. If you, once you get into it, right, it will not remain new. You will anyways get the hang of things. You will anyways be able to solve all those challenges, problems, very, very interesting ones too. So I think don't think about that. There is nothing that is required from your, let's say, previous experience. They don't require, if you have the right skills and you are able to demonstrate them well in your resume, uh, you would not be required, let's say, to anything from the last company or last experience. So just focus on those three things that I was telling you, and don't focus on your past background. Anyone can transition and they can do it very well, right? People have excelled in a new industry altogether, or in a new role. Yeah.
Yes, all right. So, Ashwin, from here, I think we'll just take it forward to the details of bootcamp, which is to be shared
Yeah.
by the program expert of Coding Ninjas. So, I would like to invite Sarthak here, and thank you so much for joining in. I think it was a great session. We have got lot of compliments also in the chat box, especially for you, as you took the class in a very informative manner.
Sure. Thanks a lot. Best of luck.
All right. So, Sarthak, can you check if you have got the camera access and the mic access?
Yes, thank you, Aditi. Thank you for introducing me. So I will be taking up the session now. Thank you, Aditi. So hello everyone. My name is Sarthak, and now I will be a host for rest of the session. So we talked about lot of things, how data analytics work, how the things work, what is the role of coding ninjas, how we gonna help you with each and everything, right? So you might be having lot of question like what we gonna talk about now, how the things will be working, how the part will be there, how we gonna take it ahead, right? So many people might be already working into tech. Many people wants to willing to get into tech, right? Many people might be having a process like how we will be getting into tech or how we can transit our career. Many people might be already into IT but wants to get into data analytics now or some other role. Now many people might be having like coming from non-tech, finance, any of the background. Now you might be planning for switch into technical, right? So we got that solution. We got that thing for you which can help you and can get you into the best way out, which can get into the IT career transition, right? So first of all, like for many people, coding ninjas might be a new name. Many people might be aware about it. So initially starting with what is coding ninjas. So we started our journey in 2016, right? So already it has been more than 8 to 9 years where we are transiting the career of the people coming from non-tech to tech, coming from IT to better IT roles. Correct. So we're gonna talk about this, and at the same time, guys, having any questions, any doubts, please feel free to raise the hands or chat and Q&A. Everything is available. Plus, you might be aware, you might not have done your research, but the best part is we are subsidiary of Naukri.com, right? So another best thing which we have with us, that is we are already subsidiary of Naukri.com. So we can, for the jobs and all the perspective, we are the best solution for you all, guys, or how we can help you out or how the things can be taken ahead, right? Talking about coding ninjas, so I completely understand many people have joined from last 1 year. So we will be taking up the session very at the faster speed so that you can get your solutions at the shorter time period itself. Correct. So basically, as I have mentioned, we started 8 years ago. So we have already completed 8 years of journey where we already have more than 1.5 lakh alumni for which we have transited the career from non-tech to tech, for which we have transited the career from non-IT to IT. So we have already done this. Correct. Plus, along with this, 1400 of our alumni are currently working into Mang. So again, a great number. Many of you might be having a dream how we can get into Mang company, how we can get your started career into that field. Correct. Along with this, and out of 111 Indian unicorn in 103 companies, our alumni are already there. Correct. So again, this was about the coding ninjas, but now talking about how like certification you will be rewarded, how you will be getting the job from our end, how things gonna work. So along with this, we are completely certified with National Skill Development Corporation. So many of you might have heard Skill India from our Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi. So again, we are completely approved with NSDC. So which help you to get to apply for the government jobs as well as along with the placement support from our end. After this, if I talk about like we already discussed what is data analytics, our expert has told you about like how the process work. So let us move ahead with the things how coding ninja can help you to get into the roadmap or to get into the jobs, how we will be helping you out. Correct. So if I talk about the complete journey roadmap, so 6 months of learning process we have with us. So our data analytics program, we have a job bootcamp of data analytics, which will be for 6 months, where you will be learning for different topics, learnings, all the part. If I talk about the curriculum which will be covered. So even if you are coming from non-tech, non-IT background, the best part which we have with us, that initially we're gonna start completely from the introduction level. So we're gonna start completely from the basics, even if you're coming from any of the background, right? So initially we will be starting with introduction to data analytics, types of data, frameworks of data, then moving ahead with data analytics with Excel. So where basic Excel, advanced Excel, the complete part will be covered. Then talking about data visualization. So like as data visualization again plays an important role. So Power BI tool we will be covering there. After that, we're gonna move ahead with data analytics using SQL because again, if I talk about Excel, have few limitation. So we're gonna go ahead with SQL learning as well, again from the basics itself. Moving ahead with Python programming because basic programming is required into this. So we're gonna cover Python programming again from the basics. So even if you are coming from non-tech, non-coding, non-IT background, we have that option of basics learning. Then we're gonna go ahead with statistical and hypothesis testing. These are some mathematical tools which will be used for data analytics purpose. After that, we're gonna move ahead with exploratory data analysis and machine learning concepts. So we recently discussed all the part with our expert about how the career and everything will be there. So we're gonna help you with 6 months of learning where all the things will be taught to you from basics towards the expertise level. Correct. And again, the best part, like why you should join this job boot camp, or why this job boot camp can help you to get a job, or why it is important for you, right? So talking about three factors of job boot camp. So we have three factors of job boot camp, that is your upskilling, interview preparation, and access to companies. Correct. So if I talk about how actually these things, so three pillars of job bootcamp will be upskilling. So as I have mentioned, we're gonna teach you everything completely from the scratch, completely from the basics. So upskilling is one of the part which we're gonna take care. Like we're gonna teach you everything. We're gonna teach you technologies. We're gonna teach you learnings. Every part of this upskilling will be covered from our end. So 6 months, that will be not only the theoretical study, the complete practical approach. Like after every topic, after every concept, we're gonna cover with practical projects, case studies, assignments. All these aspects will be covered. So upskilling will be our part where we're gonna teach you with the complete knowledge. Then moving ahead with interview preparation. So second part which comes after upskilling. So along with your learning, it will be our responsibility to teach you with the complete interview preparation, to teach you completely with the resume building processes. It will be complete, like take complete process which is required for the interview and everything. So resume building, interview practices, all these concepts will be also covered from our end. Then moving ahead with the third part, that is access to companies. So after preparing you for the curriculum, after preparing you for the jobs and everything, so again the complete aspect, complete part will be again taken care from our end. So we will be also responsible to help you with the interview alignment. It will be complete our responsibility to take you to the interviewer's gate also. So the complete part or aspect will be covered from our end. So even like if I talk about initially starting with upskilling, then taking you to the interview preparation, and then taking you to the alignment of interviews, like taking you to the interviewer's gate. All the responsibility will be covered from our end only. So every part, every aspect will be covered from ourselves, right? So at the end, like the only thing which you guys will be doing, that is your learning, then preparing yourself, and then applying into the company. So this way, this job bootcamp will help you. This way, the complete process we're gonna take care, and all the aspects will be covered. So again, coming on the services or the things which we will be helping with the boot camp. So proper 100% live classes and specially organized in the way where working professionals can go on. So Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday in the evening 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. live interactive classes will be provided to you. So if you have any doubts, any concerns, you can stop your faculty in the lecture itself and can come up with the doubts and concerns. So Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, proper live interactive sessions. Plus, if you missed any classes, then proper recorded sessions will be always available to you. So anytime you can go again for the watching recordings and everything. Plus, from morning 10 a.m. to midnight 12, complete teaching associate team is available. So if you have any doubts, any concerns while doing the projects, while watching the recorded lecture, or while doing the self-study, so again, the best part is they are available from morning 10 a.m. to midnight 12 over the video call, Google Meet, chat, WhatsApp, anything, anytime you can reach out to them. Then coming on the placements part, one of the best thing why we call it as a job boot camp, not normal boot camp, because the main motive, the main goal of this boot camp is to get land you into your first job. So another best part which you will be getting along with this, that we will be providing you with the written terms and conditions that till the time you're not getting your first job, it will be completely our responsibility to get your first job, to align your interviews till the time you're not getting your first job. So guys, till this time, if you have any doubts, any concerns, please feel free to drop over the chat and Q&A. So moving ahead with some of our alumni, the people who have already done with us or already got the placement. So you can see like this, these are few names which we have mentioned here. But if you want to see the endless list, if you want to see the complete data, you can visit to Coding Ninja's website, or you can visit our LinkedIn page or Instagram page. Everywhere we are posting continuously the people who are getting the placements. So these are again few names coming on some companies which came last quarter itself where the placements has been done. So Shadi.com, Tata Technologies, Cars24, and many more. Correct. So this was about the complete data analytics. So before moving ahead, like you might be having a question, sir, how much I need to pay for this, how I will get my all the registrations and everything done. So before that, guys, we have one more opportunity with us, that is for full stack development. Correct. So along with data analytics, we have an option of full stack web development also. So many people might be trying to get into data analyst, but at the same time we have full stack web development available as well. So for example, if you are more interested towards the coding side, you want to get your software or you want to build your own application, so at the same time we have an option of full stack web development along with this boot camp. So you can select any of the option, that is your data analytics or full stack web development. And in this case, again, we're going to teach you everything from the introduction level. So even if you don't know anything about it, again, we're going to get introduction to programming, data structure and algorithm, then moving ahead with front-end development, back-end development, then talking about system design, operating system and DBMS, everything we're going to cover from basics towards the expertise level. So again, for full stack development, we will be having the live interactive classes. If you missed any session, proper recordings will be always available. So all the things are same, but you can select according to your choice which career you want to go ahead. So now, as I can see, many people are raising the questions over the chat and Q&A, like what will be the fee structure, how we gonna register with this, how we can continue with the process. So one of the best thing, guys, the most flexible thing, the most easiest thing which we have with us, that is our fee structure, guys. So initially, you just need to register with 5,000 rupees. That can be done by any of the method like credit card, debit card, net banking, any method can work. So initially, you just need to register with 5,000 rupees, and rest fees can be converted into monthly EMIs. So if I talk about monthly EMI, we have no cost EMI option available for the people who don't want to pay anything extra. At the same time, we have standard education loan option available as well. That is up to 36 months. For example, you say, I want minimum to minimum EMI, because at the same time, right now, I'm not having a job, or right now, I'm already having lots of responsibilities with me. So at the same time, we have an option up to 36 months where education loan option is there. Correct. Along with this, guys, you might be having a question, sir, like before joining, can I have some demo lecture? Can I see a recorded video? So again, at the same time, guys, we have a 14 days of observation period where first of all, you will be taking the admission, you will be completing the process, and then you will attend the classes for 14 days. You will have your observation, and then you can decide whether you want to continue this boot camp or not. For example, if you are canceling it, so complete fees is refundable without any deduction. And at the same time, our faculties will also observe you, because we are providing you with the written terms and conditions for the placement. So at the same time, our faculty will be also observing you that how actually are you able to do the learning or not? Are you able to do the process or not? Because at the end, we are providing you with the written terms and conditions. So we will also make sure whether we will be able to get your placement done or not. Initially, you just need to register with 5,000 rupees. Moving ahead with the fee structure, like how actually the complete fees and everything work. So one of the best part of a fees is only and only 2 lakh rupees for full stack development. That includes each and everything. And for data analytics, it is only and only 1.5 lakh rupees, including each and everything. But as you have already been spend your 1 hour with us, so we have special scholarship available for few students. So we already have more than 238 students like enrolled into the batches. Now, at the same time, we have scholarship available for few students again. So if you are looking for the scholarship, stay connected, guys. So we have flat 60,000 of scholarship for full stack development. That means your final prices can be just brought down to 1,40,000, including each and everything. So the complete fees for full stack development will be only and only 1,40,000, including each and everything. Whereas for data analytics, we have scholarship available up to 40,000 rupees. That means your final prices can be just brought down to 1,10,000, including each and everything. So, guys, again, at the same time, if you are looking for the program, if you are looking for the upskilling and you want to get the prices at lowest, start sharing your name and numbers over the chat and Q&A, because we will not be able to help everyone with this scholarship because amount is very huge. So we will be helping a few students, like we have around 25 to 30 seats available for the scholarship. So we already have more than 1,000 participants into the webinar. So we will be helping you with only 20 to 30 seats for the scholarship. So start sharing your name and numbers as soon as possible. So because only eligibility is at the part where you will be sharing your name and numbers as soon as possible. So our admission team will reach out to you to will be calling you and will be helping you with the scholarship and everything. So guys, be fast. If you are missing out on the opportunity to share your name and numbers, you will miss out on the opportunity for the scholarship as well. So be fast, guys. And at the same time, just give me a second. So Aditi, are you there connected with me?
Yes, I'm connected and I'm
So
sharing
Aditi,
the details with the team.
correct, correct. So Aditi, at the same time, you can just launch the form and everything so that people can register there as well. Because many people I can see continuously sharing their name and numbers for their scholarship. So kindly please circulate the form so that everyone can fill it out. And at the same time,
Form
guys, I would request you to be fast to share your name and numbers, because if you are delaying it, you will miss out on the opportunity for the scholarship. And at the same time, this will be given to limited students only. So, guys, you can also share your number if you are having some doubts and concerns regarding anything. Because right now you are not able to speak with me. You might be having a lot of questions, sir, how the EMI process will work, how the course curriculum will work, how I will be learning, or you might be having a lot of questions around the eligibility criteria. So, guys, please feel free to drop your name and numbers so that team can reach out to you and can help you accordingly with the best whatever the best decision for you or how you can take your career. So we have already received around 137 numbers. So be fast, guys. Again, if you are delaying it, you will miss out on the opportunity as well. At the same time, guys, because one of the best thing, like after this complete masterclass, you might be having a question. I want to start my career into data analytics. I need some platform. You might be having a question, what is the surety for the placement and how I can pay minimum to minimum to reach on the my requirements, right? So at the same time, Coding Ninjas is fulfilling all your basic requirements. That is, we are providing you with the best platform. We are providing you with the written terms and conditions for the placements. Like till the time you are not getting your job, we are providing you with the proper observation period where you can feel like whether this career is for you or not. And we are providing you with the best EMI options with the lowest fees ever, which can help you out, right? So fees is very flexible, very comfortable. You can manage it without any problem. We have minimum to minimum starting with 3,600 or 3,700 monthly EMI, which is manageable. And the best part. Our average CTC will be ranging between 12 LPA. If you can check out our website and everything for the same. So guys, again at the same time, I would again repeat, if you have not shared your number yet, kindly drop in your number as soon as possible. And at the same time, the people who have already shared their number, so be active with your phone call so that admission team can reach out to you and you are not missing out on the scholarship. So, and even